Where am I?
Welcome! As a male between the ages of 9 to 29, you have been chosen!
Chosen? Chosen for what? Where am I?
It's an internet world just for men, where you can talk about all of our cool manly stuff, like MMA, YouTube videos of gorillas ripping each other's faces off,
It's not that cool.
and male victimhood.
God, wait. Am I?
Welcome to
No.
the Manosphere.
Oh no! Hey, it's been a minute, and welcome back to my series, How the F Did We Get Here? Where I trace back the steps that led to the burgeoning idiocracy that is modern-day American politics. Today's topic is
The Manosphere.
the Manosphere is a term for a rising digital ecosystem filled with male entertainers, male influencers, and male media members. Their primary audience? You guessed it. More dudes. Usually young guys under the age of 30. Whereas in the past, men were known to congregate in fraternity houses or locker rooms or, actual workplaces. You can find today's batch of alphas huddled around podcast mics discussing their favorite testosterone-laden topics.
The higher your testosterone level, the more likely you are to disagree, because at a baseline level, back before we were more civilized than we are today, if you disagreed with someone, you had to fight him.
Popular subjects range from the traditional, health and fitness, sports and comedy, to the techie, video games, streaming, to the truly bizarre, erectile dysfunction, and unwavering adherence to Israel's war crimes.
Is factually false. There is no genocide happening. That is clear by every available statistic.
But the central touchstone of this online community, the unifying force of this digital sausage fest, is masculinity. These are men talking to other men about their visions of manhood, what it means to be a man.
What man? He's a man. When's a man a man? Why is it so hard to be a man? Am I a man? Yes, technically, yes.
Now, if this is your first time hearing about the Manosphere, first of all, congratulations. It sounds as though you've touched far more grass than I have recently. But consider that your blissful ignorance to some of the most squalid corners of the internet is probably by design. See, something I've learned from my past forays into alt-right spaces is that we're all sort of living in our own little worlds. YouTube, TikTok, and other social media employ powerful algorithms that track your viewing preferences and then relentlessly force-feed those preferences back to us. The effect of this loop here can be quite destructive. Young men might set out to watch their favorite streamer play NBA 2K, but the Manosphere algorithm snares them, and they become entrenched and radicalized. A few months later, they're watching that same streamer do brain-dead TikTok dances with Trump. Now you might be thinking, what's the big deal? Misogyny and male self-obsession has existed since time immemorial. In the Bible, God literally creates Eve out of Adam's rib. Yeah, sure, it's gross, but why not leave these macho morons alone? But there's a political issue lurking here. The thing is, the Manosphere has become massive, it's growing, and its mounting membership is, perhaps unsurprisingly, MAGA. Trump effectively utilized the Manosphere on the 2024 election trail, appearing on a host of male-centric podcasts and platforms, and scoring endorsements from some of the Manosphere's most popular influencers and creators.
This year, compared to the 2020 election, President-elect Trump made gains across almost every single demographic group. But one of the most notable shifts was among young men, who moved roughly 15 points to the right.
So much so that on the night of November 6th last year, mere minutes after Trump had been elected president of the most powerful country on earth, UFC President Dana White stood next to him on stage and said this.
I want to thank the Nelk Boys, Adin Ross, Theo Vaughn, Bustin' with the Boys, and last but not least, the mighty and powerful Joe Rogan.
I am unfortunately a glutton for pain, so I remember watching this live, and two thoughts immediately struck me. First of all, what the hell is a Nelk boy? And secondly, the last time Trump got elected, he forgot to thank his wife and daughter in his victory speech. To get a shout out from an egomaniac like the Donald on his big night, these guys must be more important than I think. The data bears this out. After his campaign's romp through the Manosphere, Trump won 56% of the male 18 to 29 demographic in 2024, an increase of 15 percentage points from 2020. All right, so maybe the Manosphere is more than a meme. But if these alpha males have this much political salience, then what can we do about it? I wonder if I Google my name, if anything will show up Manosphere related. I mean, I am a guy with a face and opinions online, so... Oh, wait. All that I'm seeing is my old email, phone number, my apartment building. What the hell? You can just find this stuff online? You sure can, Ben. And this is all due to the work of data brokers. Just another fun consequence of living under a government that basically has no online privacy laws for its citizens. Wow. Well, that doesn't sound too great, but what am I supposed to do about it? That's the best part. There's nothing you can do. Everything about you will be on the internet forever. A digital tattoo, if you will. Your only option is waiting for society to collapse, the power grid to fry, and all digital records to be lost forever in a post-electric wasteland. You sure that's the only option? Because it really sounded like you were about to go into an ad read or something. Oh yeah. Or you could use today's sponsor, Aura. Think of Aura like your digital cleanup crew, but with a law degree, a security badge, and a grudge against scammers. They scan the internet, including sketchy corners like the dark web, and flag anything shady tied to your identity. And they do it fast, with 24/7 monitoring. And just in case something does go sideways, they've got your back with up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. Because the only thing worse than someone stealing your identity is having to pay for it. But with Aura, you're not just playing defense. They also give you a VPN to keep your browsing private, a password manager that won't let you reuse 1234 for the 50th time, real-time antivirus protection, and blockers to stop creepy sites from tracking you like it's their full-time job. Oh yeah, and they go after data brokers. Well dang, Aura sounds pretty great. When can I get started? Right now. You can go to aura.com/Benaminute to try 14 days totally free. That's 2 weeks of finding out just how exposed your info might be and locking it down for good. Look, protecting your identity shouldn't feel like a full-time job. Let Aura handle it. And thank you to Aura for supporting the channel. All right, back to it. Well, if we want to figure out how to combat the Manosphere, we first need to uncover how and why it's become so influential. And to do that, I need to understand the space, get into their heads, find out what makes them tick. And unfortunately, I hadn't been keeping up with the latest episodes of Impulsive, Logan Paul's Room Temperature IQ podcast, presumably for those who find the Joe Rogan Experience overly intellectual. So that meant I was gonna have to do some research. I had to watch a bad amount of Manosphere content to prepare for this video, so I'll spare you the details and give you a brief history on what I've learned. To keep things organized, I've split the Manosphere into 3 distinct eras.
Freedom isn't free. It costs folks like you and
The exact date of origin for the Manosphere is up for debate, but it's decidedly an internet phenomenon. Thus, I thought it would be appropriate to begin my research in the early 2000s, around the time Al Gore invented the internet. Looking back, Manosphere 1.0 really was your pop's Manosphere. Fox News hosts and radio shock jocks. These guys were Old Testament MAGA. Before Trump went woke with tech bros and the Teslas, I'm pretty sure he got the idea for building the wall from Rush Limbaugh.
They're building a restraining wall around the U.S. Capitol, like there is around the White House. But they're tearing down the wall at the U.S. border.
A couple of things stood out from watching these spiritual predecessors to the modern Manosphere. First, holy shit, these guys are old. I mean, seriously, like, look at these dinosaurs. And don't get it twisted, Manosphere 1.0's audience was every bit as decrepit as they were. Their past segments are routinely spliced with Alzheimer and AARP ads galore.
Yeah, and I want to bring your message of love and peace, which I understand that is your message.
It is.
I want to bring the message of love and peace to a younger audience, people in their 60s, people in their 50s.
Dressed in suits and ties to portray at least the facade of decorum and intellectual sincerity, these geriatric talking heads waged the culture war nightly in front of an audience that was every bit as old as they were. Hordes of olds used to get riled up as the O'Reilly Factor and Hannity covered America's most salacious scandals, like...
But this year they're touting Santa Claus, who will help you, quote, with your holiday wish list. So here's my question to Macy's. What holiday is Santa celebrating? Winter solstice? The birthday of a reindeer? What?
But you're just another limousine, liberal socialist, hypocritical asshole.
The second aspect of Manosphere 1.0 that's remarkable is that you can really start to see the blurring of the line between information and entertainment. These shows were marketed as news programs, but they weren't, at least not wholly. They were intricately designed to spark the sort of internet buzz you might find in a clickbait YouTube thumbnail or viral Twitter meme. Then Fox News CEO and media mogul Rupert Murdoch captured this in a quote he gave in a 2010 interview. Murdoch was prescient. He understood that in the digital age, the best way to monetize his news program was to make it engaging, to harvest eyeballs and create clicks, even if that meant turning the news into a circus. Jon Stewart called this out in a 2004 appearance on the show Crossfire, which was marketed as a political debate show, but as Stewart rightly pointed out, was really more political theater.
Stop. Stop hurting America.
Okay, now
and come work for us, because we, as the people.
How do you pay?
The people, not well.
Better than CNN, I'm sure.
But you can sleep at night.
So even in 2004, we could begin to see the tendrils of the Manosphere movement emerge. But still, nothing could prepare us for...
I said, young man, when you're short on your dough.
If Manosphere 1.0 was characterized by male media figures adapting to the age of the internet, Manosphere 2.0 represents a full-scale embrace of digital content. Sadly, this 2.1 era starts with talking about Ben Shapiro. Yeah, you probably know. The whiny, motor-mouth, proselytizing dweeb that defined a generation of young male conservatives by serving up a ceaseless series of hot takes on his daily web shows, podcasts, and tweets.
Why don't you just say that you're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. I just asked you a question.
Cool, manly shit, like hating the most popular music of the decade, or being friend-zoned within his own marriage. Hell yeah, bro, that's sick. In 2015, Shapiro co-founded the alt-right media outlet The Daily Wire. Although considered fringe at the time, the website focused on providing its content exclusively in digital spaces, largely foregoing the television and radio that dominated the Manosphere 1.0 era. Shapiro's early push towards cornering media markets on social media and YouTube has paid dividends. By 2020, The Daily Wire was generating more online engagement on Facebook than NBC, ABC, Fox, and the New York Times combined, which is insane. It's crazy. While not all of the Daily Wire's content was male-driven, it provided a backdrop and media environment for more Manosphere influencers to emerge and thrive. The media figures that followed brought the Manosphere to a younger audience, imbuing an alt-right political message within content targeted towards adolescent boys and young men. In Manosphere 2.0, perhaps no figure was more emblematic of this than Jordan Peterson. Presenting as sort of a professorial, stern uncle, Peterson rose to internet prominence in 2016 when he feverishly protested Canadian legislation that basically just said that you weren't allowed to call trans people slurs.
I opposed a bill in Canada that made use of people's preferred pronouns mandatory by law. Right. And no, that's not acceptable.
Why do you care what they call themselves? Like
I don't care.
You don't?
I care when people tell me what I have to say.
From there, things escalated quickly.
Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No. Fix simple problems first. Clean up your room.
I don't know how you can go out and protest the structure of the entire economic system if you can't keep your room organized, because Hitler was obsessed with order and cleanliness. He was very sensitive to disgust. That's what it looks like. And if you're disgusted by something, then you want to eradicate it, right? If you're afraid of something, you want to run away from it. If you're disgusted by it, you want to burn it to the damn ground.
I mean, first of all, Hitler and Stalin were very singular types, and there's a bit of Hitler and Stalin in everyone, so, you know, there's some truth in that.
Especially young people with a conscience, because they've been told since they were little that there's nothing to them but corruption and power.
His lectures on mythology, psychology, and meaning, once sparsely attended, started drawing millions of views online. Since then, he's become well known for mostly writing books and giving interviews styled as self-help screeds that really function more as alt-right propaganda and culture war bait.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
For each well-meaning piece of advice about making your bed each morning, Peterson delivers a plethora of batshit lunatic takes.
The pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. What a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
Or when he got triggered by a paper towel dispenser. And while new media figures like Peterson and Shapiro rose to prominence online, Murdoch continued to craft his personal manosphere on cable. While Fox News started to shed some of the high-profile creepy grandpas, like Bill Quid Pro Quo O'Reilly, they chose to replace them with a guy that begs the question, hey, what'd you just put in my drink?
In 2003, Crossfire host Tucker Carlson repeatedly promised that he'd eat his shoes if Senator Hillary Clinton sold 1 million copies of her autobiography. Well, she did.
Tucker, my friend, get ready to be munching on a little shoe leather coming up pretty soon, huh?
Actually, Paul, I will, in fact, eat my shoes because I'm a man of my word.
First time I've had to eat my words. Oh, my God! Hey, Mrs. Clinton, how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Tucker had made his bones as the conservative pundit on networks like CNN and MSNBC, bringing a new boyish type of racism that your grandmother found endearing, like when he called Iraqis semi-literate primitive monkeys.
Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of, semi-literate primitive monkeys.
These off-the-cuff appearances in what were ostensibly apolitical settings really laid the groundwork for what sophomoric bow-tie curious young men could get away with later on. If you make your racist point head-on, but semi-unseriously with the giggle a small child makes when he hears a fart, it becomes infotainment. It's not news, it's not a joke, it's racism wrapped in a Mad Lib inside of a country club. To people unfamiliar with his work, he might seem like your fraternity brother on his third domestic light beer. But as he gained popularity, he was able to parlay eyeballs into legitimacy and power, and unleash full-on racist tirades in primetime on Fox News 5 nights a week.
Our leaders demand that you shut up and accept this. We have a moral obligation to admit the world's poor, they tell us, even if it makes our own country poorer and dirtier and more divided. Huddled masses yearning to breathe free?
While Tuck was eventually ousted at Fox News when his private text messages with criticisms of Donald Trump and Fox News were leaked,
Fox News Media and Tucker Carlson have mutually agreed to part ways.
He's found a home in the very garden which he helped till. A lovely spot in Alex Jones's old neighborhood in the Manosphere, somewhere between Charlie Kirk's eyeballs and his hairline, and next door to Dave Portnoy's beat red face. He remains the master of baiting his interviewee with, "I'm just trying to understand," with zero intention of trying to understand, as we saw recently in his viral Ted Cruz interview on Carlson's video podcast. Warning for some of our viewers, this might be tough to watch.
I'm asking about your allegation and the Prime Minister of Israel's allegation that Iran is trying to murder the president.
Killing terrorists is a good thing. Killing people who are trying to murder Americans is a good thing. Because if you're America first, you want to protect America. And so killing Osama bin Laden was a fantastic day for the world.
But you don't really believe that they're trying to murder Trump, or you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Then why aren't you calling for military action against Tehran right now?
Because they're not very effective. In terms of hitmen, their hitmen are not very effective. I do think...
So they're hitmen, but not the bad kind, the efficient kind?
No,
what are you saying?
They're a weak country who is on its knees, and I think we need to...
Then why are we so afraid of them? Why are they the biggest threat if they're a weak country that's on its knees?
Because they're trying...
I'm trying to keep track.
They're trying to develop... Be a little less snarky.
Snarky? Really, Ted? This is a family podcast. Tucker represents the bridge between your boomer parents' belief that USA foreign policy regarding Israel is based on our love for the Jewish people, and your iPad baby all grown up little cousins who keep using the words Ohio and Aura in increasingly unsettling ways. Which brings us to the Manosphere up today. Manosphere 3.0 is thriving, and perhaps even more powerful than its predecessors. Once again, I pulled out two characteristics that define this era. First, the sheer quantity and breadth of Manosphere 3.0 influencers is truly astounding. Content relating to masculinity has exploded in popularity over the past several years, and Manosphere influencers are popping up in almost any male-oriented hobby or interest that you can imagine. You've got Adin Ross, who began his Twitch career streaming the NBA 2K video game with LeBron's son Bronny, but has since evolved into a Trump sycophant, pictured here gifting Trump a MAGA-themed Tesla. Or Bradley Martin, a popular fitness content creator who had to have tariffs explained to him like a 5-year-old in an interview where he explains why he voted for Trump.
Is it that simple though?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I don't think it's that straightforward.
No, tariffs are pretty cut and dry. It's just basically when you say you're implementing a tariff, all the goods that you're purchasing from the country that has a tariff, or all whatever the goods are that have tariffs on them, you at the point of entry have to pay a fee, the additional fee. You're paying the tariff as an American.
Or my personal favorite, the Nelk Boys, whose content appears to consist mainly of partying and pranks, but have somehow been deemed qualified to interview the President of the United States on 3 separate occasions. The second thing that instantly jumps out when you watch Manosphere 3.0 influencers is, oh my god, these guys are really stupid. Whereas Peterson and Shapiro and even O'Reilly and Hannity to some extent, offered at least a veneer of ideological consistency and logical reasoning, the politics of Manosphere 3.0 are completely devoid of knowledge or depth. Tim Kaine pointed this out in a recent interview in which he mentioned his son's comments on young male voting.
But when he said this, he said, Dad, a lot of these young guys especially said they're not voting on the policy issues. And he wasn't dissing them. He said they may know the policy issues, but most of them don't. They're doing it because there's a sense of excitement, a sense of thrill in this. It's entertainment or whatever.
The Nelk Boys really are the best example of this. As part of my research, I recently endured the excruciating experience of watching these low-grade morons interview Trump, where they asked really hard-hitting questions like this.
The talk show hosts, are they great, or do we need to make them great again?
Are these talk show hosts great, or do we need to make them great again? Yeah, so the Nelk Boys just interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu on their podcast, and they talked about Big Macs and Whoppers while hundreds of thousands of people are starving in Gaza. So, yeah. Another example is Theo Von, a comedian whose podcast rakes in millions of listens predominantly from young men. This is a guy who somehow has the cognitive dissonance to call for Palestinian freedom in a video just last month.
It feels like a genocide is going on over there and you don't know what to do.
19,000 kids have been orphaned.
And then somehow dine with Ivanka and Jared Kushner the next week. Yes, that Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and former advisor, whose family is so close to Netanyahu that they have little sleepovers together. And look, I'm not trying to say that Theo Von or Adin Ross or even the Nelk Boys are bad people. I just genuinely think they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. But when your content is overtly political, when you interview Trump and don MAGA hats, and when you dine with Jared Kushner, being completely ignorant about politics is incredibly irresponsible and harmful. Believe it or not, and trust me, I can't believe it, all of these men have enormous and highly impressionable audiences. What they say and do matters.
Hey.
It's important to understand why and how Trump's relationship with the Manosphere began. I'm old enough to remember a time where Republicans repudiated Donald following his inciting a mob to storm the Capitol building on January 6th, 2021. Trump was unable to book Fox and Friends and other sympathetic TV shows that he'd routinely called into and appeared on during his first term. Fox News head Rupert Murdoch wanted to make Trump a non-person, and conservative media and Republican leadership largely abandoned Donald Trump following January 6th. That wilderness period lasted all of 3 weeks after the attack on the Capitol, when Kevin McCarthy's visit to Trump at Mar-a-Lago began Trump's rehabilitation. This kick-started a loosely connected conservative online network that gave Trump a platform, his interviewers legitimacy, and his voters a new space to voice their support. He was left with the true deplorables of his electorate. Those that were proposing January 6th was a false flag operation, that the election had been stolen, that there was an active invasion of our country by black and brown people. Donald Trump helps make Charlie Kirk and other MAGA influencers household names, and in so doing, he lays the foundation of a more organized conservative media operation, which eventually helped propel him to a second term 4 years later. Creators like our favorite prank artists turned presidential interviewers, the Nelk Boys, no doubt noticed what talking about Trump, with Trump, in the same space as Trump, did for views and what views do for their monetization. Look, I don't want to come off as overly critical or hypocritical in this video. I'll be honest, I'm a young guy. Sometimes I like watching a lot of fitness creators. I think that Theo Von's comedy is actually pretty funny.
Comedy room near me, this gentleman had half a limb. And he was...
Which limb?
He was missing part of his leg, I think. Or he said he was, so he could have been faking it.
CGI or something?
I don't know what his name was. I mean, it was a CGI. It was a white dude.
Okay, check.
Hell, if I sat down with the Nelk Boys and had a few beers, I'd probably want to lobotomize myself. But you get the idea. The problem with the Manosphere is that it's become intertwined with rampant misogyny and alt-right politics. Young men get attracted to these online spaces by innocent hobbies and interests, and then become radicalized without even realizing it. So what can we do? Well, I've come up with 3 ways to fight back against the Manosphere. Number 1. Media literacy. I think the younger generation has a healthy skepticism towards traditional forms of media. And to be honest, I think that that's a good thing. Establishment media brands like CNN often fail to capture the full American political spectrum. But at the same time, we have to teach kids that making something entertaining does not mean that it's trustworthy. I feel like a lot of the time informative media can lack personality, and a lot of entertaining content can lack substance. There's a real need for something that can do both. It seems like it should go without saying that Adin Ross isn't a reliable news source, but maybe we should say it anyways. Number 2, improve leftist messaging. Let's face it, as leftists online, we're kind of annoying. Hell, if I had a nickel for every time I got a comment telling me, I agree with you, but you don't have to sound so smug about it, I'd have like 5 or 6 nickels, but it's made me realize that how I convey information is just as important as the information itself. I know I parodied the Democratic Party's obsession with messaging in my third-party video, but there's something to be said for establishing voices on the left that actually connect with younger and wider audiences. And no, Kamala appearing on Call Her Daddy doesn't count. Number 3, positive male role models. There are actually lots of athletes, actors, and entertainers that probably lean somewhat to the left. The problem is, their focus isn't explicitly political in the way that Manosphere influencer content has become. Hasanabi is a good example of a political influencer that plays well with young male audiences while not appealing explicitly to young men. We need more people like that. So if you identify as a dude and you lean to the left, and you like fishing, weightlifting, cars, crypto, cold plunges, video games, hunting, cigars, passive income, stoicism, discipline, intermittent fasting, creatine, dopamine detoxes, dropshipping, and comedy, then talk about it. Make it known that you like these things, while not agreeing with the politics that have been purposefully and artificially attached to it. I, for one, am gonna take things back from the right-wingers. From here on out, my channel is officially part of the Manosphere, the new Manosphere. The Manosphere 4.0. Sane son, based bro.